Got it?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I am here with Serena, and we are going to hear a little bit about her journey before and then now after carnivore and all the things that she has found. So, Serena, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask you to start off with your life before your I hate to say diet because it's
I
so
know.
much more than that, but your way of eating. So your life before, what health conditions did you have? And can you go ahead and go through each of those and give us a rundown of what you were living with before you changed your way of eating?
Okay. Well, I'm your typical female that's been taught to restrict calories, like her entire life, salads and vegetable platters, and all of that. And it got me nowhere. Where it got me was wanting sugar and carbs all the time. I mean, that was literally all I wanted. And, I heard Oprah say it, I don't know how many years ago, it has to be at this point, 25 years ago when she told the world she was a carb addict. And I didn't really know what that meant. But as an adult now, who's 48 years old, I can honestly say that, I think about those things, those foods. Well, and not so much anymore, but I did think about those foods all the time. I was constantly planning my next meal and um, what was the next diet I was going to try because you're always women for some reason. We are just always striving for that last 10 or 15 pounds, always, even when, I weighed probably less than I should, I still was trying for that last 5 or 10 pounds. So, always on a diet, always watching what I eat, always counting everything I ate to be sure that I wasn't going over or going too far under what I was eating. So I think my major health concern for me was mentally, as far as the eating goes, and I've always tried to eat fairly healthy. But even that was kind of just a healthy version of the sad diet, if there is even such a thing. Um, and then I had the virus back at the end of 2020, lost my sense of taste and smell. And 3 months later, everything was still very muted for me at that point, and I was still eating just kind of traditional foods, but a healthier version of that, more of a lower carb than a higher carb kind of thing. But I woke up one day and made a cup of coffee, and it smelled like the only thing I could describe it was like a rotten skunk somebody had lit on fire. Turns out there's a term for that. It's called parosmia, and it's actually a fairly common side effect. A lot of people just have a few things that they can't eat or things that make them feel nauseous. Across the board for most people, it's anything mint, coffee, popcorn, peanut butter, garlic, onion, which are the two worst offenders, and like they're in everything. Garlic and onion are like the root of food seasonings, so what started off as a mild problem because, oh, I can't drink my coffee today, over the next couple or 3 weeks turned into this full blown nauseous all the time. And the only thing that I could really eat that satisfied me in here too was carbohydrates like cupcakes and cookies and all the things. And so that's what I was eating very, very much of. And I woke up on my birthday weekend in May, and my daughters are bakers. They have a gluten free baking business, and they made me some cupcakes. And I think I ate like 20 of them over the weekend. And I felt like I was hitting rock bottom, And so Monday morning, I woke up and said, okay, there are these 5 things, this list that I could count on one hand that I can eat that aren't sugar. And all vegetables smell and taste rancid. Most fruits smell and taste rancid and rotten. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to eat those 5 things. And that made me a carnivore. So as I started looking it up, I realized, okay, this is an actual thing, and this is what it's called. And that really helped me because it took a lot of the guesswork out of what I was going to eat and the trying different things to try to fix it and all of that. And it really put me on a really great road to recovery, and even a road that I didn't expect because I didn't realize what an issue I had with, the foods like that. Like you can't eat just one. And so it really helped me I just had to cut all of those things out. And that really kind of cleared the way for me to do some healing, I think.
That is hilarious that you had no idea. I mean, a lot of people call carnivore the ultimate elimination diet. And it
That's
very
right.
much is. And for you, it was like, oh my word, it's literally the only thing I
Yeah.
can eat. Were you afraid that you were going to die? by only eating
Um,
these animal foods?
well, no, I mean, what I knew was the things I have seen, like in the Facebook groups that are dedicated to this, is I've seen people on both ends of the spectrum, people who have gained 50 or 60 or 100 pounds because all they can eat is sugar because it's the only thing that tastes good. And then people on the other end of the spectrum. I mean, I've seen people in these groups that are in the hospital on feeding tubes because things make them so nauseous. And it's not just foods, it's also body lotions and colognes and gasoline, which doesn't smell like gasoline. It has the same rotten, nasty smell as all of those other things that I mentioned. They all smell exactly the same. So we'll walk into a room and I'll say to somebody, even still, I'll say, "What is that?" Because I can smell something, but I don't know what it is. And they'll say, "Oh, my dad made beef roast," or, what I like, the certain things that I still can't eat. And beef roast is one of those things. I can eat steak and hamburgers, but not beef roast. It's the weirdest thing. It literally smells like rotten flesh. But I think, in switching and realizing these are the only things I can eat, and then doing the research. And even then, that list was really small. There were literally only five of the animal foods that I could eat. And as time went on, it got better. But in seeing the people on different ends of the spectrum, I was just grateful to have found something that I could eat that didn't make me nauseous all the time, and to take the guesswork out of everything and know that I'm not going to try to eat something again tonight that's going to make me nauseous, because I know what those things are and I'm just going to not go near them for a while if I can.
Oh my goodness. So what
Yeah.
are the 5 things that you can eat?
Well, now I can eat more, and I really believe that, and we don't know for sure because we'll never know how long it would have taken me to get to this point in my healing. It was actually the middle of March last year where the Parosmia started, so it's almost a year now. And at that point, it was like I could eat. This is really bizarre. I could eat a hamburger fresh off the grill, but I couldn't eat it the next day reheated because it smelled and tasted rotten. I know. And then steak, same thing with steak. Bacon smelled really, really bad, but not to the point where it made me nauseous. So I was still able to eat like a few pieces of bacon. Chicken was a big no go. Like it was, oh my goodness, it was so awful. So like that list was really, really small. I could eat really mild cheeses at that point. And it got to the point where I found that dark roasted coffees were a lot more harsh for me than a light roasted coffee. So I finally, after working and buying lots of different coffees, found a coffee that I was able to drink. And it's still, even now, almost a year later, it doesn't taste like coffee. So it doesn't taste awful anymore, but it also does not taste like coffee. But that list of foods was really, really small. It was 4 or 5 things. At that point, I couldn't eat eggs either. So there really were only a few things. And as hard as that sounds, it was still easier for me mentally and emotionally than trying something new all the time. Like maybe I'll try a salad today, or today I'll try some chicken. And then going into restaurants is like a terrible ordeal because restaurants smell like the food they make and they use a lot of garlic and onion. And so in the beginning, it was a lot harder than it is now. But we would open the door to a restaurant and most people say, "Wow, that smells great." And I'm immediately like covering my face with my shirt, or when we were all still wearing masks, I would put some essential oils or something on my mask and put it on so that I was smelling that instead of, the food. But we go skating on Wednesdays. I homeschool my kids and we go skating on Wednesdays. And I could tell every time they dropped new fries because I would be out on the rink and it would make me nauseous. I would be like, "Oh, they're making fries." And I would have to cover my face with my jacket. So it's hard because the smells are everywhere and I never know when it's going to hit me. But once I did the research on carnivore, I felt like, okay, this is something I can do. Some of these foods are foods I can eat right now, and I'm just going to focus on that.
So what do you typically eat in a day now?
Now,
Mhm.
well, now it has broadened a lot now. One of my favorite things that goes back to when I was a child, and something that women don't typically eat because we worry about getting fat, is fried wings, like chicken wings. Oh my goodness, that is one of my absolute loves. And we recently replaced our oven with a full size oven that's also an air fryer, so I can make 2 huge pans of chicken wings all at once. And so that's probably something that I make 4 times a week. I would say I make chicken wings right now. Once chicken was okay for me, I immediately started making wings because I knew that was something that I love and something that's going to get me through any day where I might be craving something sweet or look at something and think, "I kind of wish I could have that." But I don't feel like that very often. But there are times where I think it sure would be nice if I could have just one. But that's the thing, is that I learned I can't have just one. So it's good that I've learned that about myself. But I eat, lately I'm going through a hamburger phase. I actually had a ribeye last week that I didn't like, if you can imagine. I know, made a ribeye here at home and took a bite of it, and I just wished it was a hamburger. So I'm back to burgers. I'm eating lots of hamburgers with just a little bit of butter on them. I have given up dairy just to try to reduce inflammation even more for the healing process. So I didn't do dairy last month, and I'm not going to do dairy this month. I did actually have it once last month for the Super Bowl. I made a carnivore-ish cheesecake, and the next morning when I got out of bed, I was so sorry because my joints were so inflamed. I'm only 48, so this isn't a problem I have regularly. And I didn't have this problem before I gave up dairy, but giving it up showed me, like you said, it's just such a major elimination diet. And giving it up for that little while showed me that's the only difference that I made. That's the only thing that could be causing me this trouble. So I gave up dairy, but I was eating some cheese and heavy cream in my coffee and eggs. Sometimes I'll make ribs. I'll just cook some, ribs in the air fryer. I eat lots of broken up ground beef or sauteed ground beef or ground turkey. Lots of times I'll just go ahead and put some frozen chicken in the Instant Pot and then let my family put whatever sauces they want on theirs. And just for a treat, sometimes I'll use a sugar-free barbecue sauce if I can, if it doesn't smell rotten that day. And I like to use some hot sauce sometimes on my foods, just to switch it up a little bit. But honestly, and then bacon and beef bacon, can't forget about bacon. But honestly, my diet isn't incredibly, like varied, and that's okay with me because there's nothing like a couple of really good hamburgers with a small pat of butter on top. You really can't beat that.
Yeah, a lot of people do end up eating the same thing over and over again, and it's
Mhm.
okay.
It's okay. But
Yeah.
most people do that. Even people that aren't carnivore, we all do that. We all have the same foods we eat over and over. I do really like shrimp in lots of butter. The colossal shrimp I've been buying recently, and those taste like lobster. Oh my goodness, in some butter, they are so good. And sometimes I'll eat fish like salmon or tilapia or something like that. Um, but as long as it's meat, I'm pretty happy with it.
Oh, that's amazing to hear that you're at least able to include more things and finding what works for you
Yeah.
individually.
Hmm.
And I really, it's one of those questions that it's like, have you had any difficulties with yours? Oh my gosh, yeah, your whole thing's been difficult. You poor
Yeah.
thing.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, there are still things like if my kids open a pack of tuna, I'm like running for the hills. When my kids are making, my family is not carnivore, so I try to not buy a lot of like processed stuff for them. But if they are making like rice or something, as soon as it hits the water, it has that same smell that all of the other rotten garbage has. It's just the weirdest thing. So anyway, but I'm doing okay. Yeah, a lot of it's been difficult, but like I said, once I took the guesswork out of it and quit trying new things mentally, I was a lot healthier.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that you found something that works for you and it's
Yeah.
not going to kill you. Oh, I can't even imagine that all they can eat is sugar.
Yeah, I
I
was miserable. I mean, honestly, you get the serotonin and all of that all at once from the sugar, but as soon as that's gone, I would just be so sad. And then I wanted something nutritious, but I just couldn't do it.
Oh my goodness. So now that you have been eating this way for this long, I would love to hear about what has improved. What all besides what you can actually eat? Have you noticed any other things about your body, about your mental state, anything that has improved with this animal-based way of eating?
Yeah, I feel like, and it seems cliche because a lot of people say this about different ways of eating, but I feel like I do believe that I think better than I used to. We homeschool, like I said, and so we're taking a sign language class, and I'm really remembering the things a lot better than I did the last time we took a sign language class. I don't ever have that afternoon dip in my energy level where I feel like I need an afternoon nap like everybody always does. Like I am not tired until it's time to go to bed. And at that point, of course, once I lay down and rest, I can definitely fall asleep pretty easily. But I don't ever really feel like in the early evening, like, oh, it's time for bed. Let's see. The parosmia obviously is a lot better, and my inflammation is way down. When I exercise, I don't run out of energy as quickly as I used to. When I run, I actually run a little bit faster than I did before. And that's after taking several months off just because it's winter and things like that. But I recently started doing like 20 minutes worth of sprinting and walking. And I'm actually doing that a lot faster than I did before. And the only thing I've changed is the way I eat since then. When I lift weights, I feel like I can lift heavier or for longer periods or for more reps before I get really tired. But the major change for me has been, I think, mentally, just the idea that I don't have to worry when I'm going out to eat anymore, aside from the smell. And like I said, it has gotten a lot better. My list of things is not nearly as long as it used to be. Vegetables still are yucky, but for the most part, it is definitely getting better. And I don't really feel stressed anymore about going out to eat when we're watching what we eat and we're trying to be careful. I mean, I remember I would look up on the internet the menus for the different places we might go and scour them and try to look it up and find out how many calories were in each meal. And you don't really have to do that with carnivore. You can kind of just eat. And I think for me, mentally, the main thing is not being stressed about what I'm going to eat anymore. I just do it when I'm hungry and I feel really, really good. Like I said, the energy level is just the main thing. And so many people my age are taking medications. I mean, I went to a doctor recently for a checkup, and two different nurses and the doctor all seemed surprised that I was not taking medication. I'm like, I'm only 48. Is that where we are? Is that people my age, it's shocking to find out they're not taking any medications. So um, I think the fuel for my body is working for me, and I feel like it's sustaining me. And I feel like overall my mental health is in a much better state than it was before because of it.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you and that you're able to slowly include more things. I would love to hear your take on or your advice for anyone who is thinking about going on a carnivore diet or anyone who might be afraid of it for various reasons, because we've all been told, that meat's going to
Yeah.
harm us if we eat too much of it. So, do you
Mhm.
have any inspirational words for everyone?
Yeah, I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves and everybody jumps from one thing to another. We all do. I've done it. I've done everything you can think of. And I think jumping from one thing to another just causes more trouble. And I think even if somebody wasn't ready to go completely carnivore, at the very least we should remove all of the processed foods, prepackaged foods from our diets, and remove all of the like excess carbohydrates like the breads and the potatoes and the rice and the pasta and the sodas, of course. And I think that if people remove all of those things from their diet, they are going to see such a huge change that they might be willing to maybe take it one step farther. I think keto and ketovore and carnivore are extremely healthy. And I think that once you teach your body to burn the fuel that your body already has, like your body fat, and then if you're just eating fat and protein and very, very little carbohydrates, once your brain switches over and your body starts burning those things instead of carbs, you will just see such a huge difference because I think people don't understand that when you eat carbohydrates, your body burns that first, and your body is then used to burning carbohydrates. And once there's that dip and your body runs out of those carbohydrates, that's when people need the afternoon nap. That's when people get up off the couch and say, "Why am I so tired today?" And if your body is already trained to burn fat, that once the fat that you've eaten is gone, it'll burn your own body fat and you will feel so much better and never have that dip in energy. And I think that is just huge for people. So I think the main thing is to remove all of those carbohydrates if you can. If you need to eat a few, lower carbohydrate vegetables in order to get through to see how you're feeling about this whole thing, I think that's a great way to kind of transition into something else and then see how you're feeling about it.
That is so exciting, and I cannot wait to see what is in store for you in the future as you continue along with your journey. So, anyone who wants to follow you, where would they be able to find you?
On Instagram and on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. My name is Carnivore Running Mom. It's the same on all of them. I don't have a lot of stuff out there yet, but I'm working on it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us today and a little bit of encouragement and hope for people who are suffering from the same thing that you are.
Thank you.